During Gentlemate's run to qualify for Masters Santiago, one name kept appearing at the top of the scoreboard: Marteen. Across two best-of-5 series, he first dropped 106 kills against BBL, setting a new VCT EMEA record. The next day, he raised it again, finishing with 126 against Fnatic, the new Global VCT Record. Performances like that quickly get the attention of the entire scene. People started looking closer at how he plays. One detail stood out immediately. Marteen runs 0.06 sensitivity at 1600 DPI, one of the lowest sensitivities used in Tier 1 Valorant. In this video, we break down his setup, his aim style, and how you can train the same mechanics. To understand how his aim works, it helps to start with his setup. Marteen keeps his entire forearm on the desk, with his elbow near the edge of the table. This position supports his extremely low sensitivity, where larger arm movements become necessary. Instead of using his wrist, he mainly uses his arm to flick, and often needs multiple swipes to navigate wider angles. Because of this, fine wrist adjustments become less common. He either relies on movement to help with micro adjustment, lands accurate flicks that skip the need for it, or reacts fast enough when holding angles that a correction isn't needed. He also sits very close to the monitor. That makes targets appear larger on screen, making movement easier to detect and helping him react faster. For peripherals, the gear itself is fairly standard. Most of the difference comes from his sensitivity, arm placement, and aim style. Once you watch a few rounds from his POV, a clear pattern appears in the way he aims. The first one is stability. His crosshair stays locked on where it needs to be. When he traces an angle, there's almost no shakiness in the movement. His low sensitivity smooths out unwanted micro movements that otherwise would cause instability. Next is timing his clicks. The stability in his crosshair placement complements this. He hits enemies swinging his holds, perfectly timing his shots. This eliminates the need to adjust his crosshair, which would otherwise create more room for error. For situations where an enemy appears outside his crosshair, this is where his perfect flicks come in. The flick lands directly on the head. Because of that, there is no need for a micro adjustment. His flicks pivot from the forearm, whereas most players flick primarily from the wrist. Those are the core of Marteen's aim style. This approach works especially well in situations where crosshair placement and first shot accuracy decide the fight. The stability helps him trace angles cleanly, the reaction timing removes the need for corrections when holding, the flick accuracy solves situations where enemies appear outside his crosshair. However, this style also comes with trade-offs. At such a low sensitivity, wider turns require larger arm movement and sometimes multiple swipes to cover bigger angles. This can make fast camera turns or sudden direction changes more physically demanding, which can lead to faster fatigue. Like most aim styles, it works extremely well when the strengths are used correctly, but it also requires getting comfortable with larger arm movements and using the forearm as the primary driver of aim. So how do you actually train mechanics like this? Let's take it into Aimlabs. Set your sensitivity close to Marteen's very low eDPI of 96, 0.06 Sens at 1600 DPI. Place your whole forearm on the desk, with the pivot point near your elbow so you can cover larger swipes. And finally, pull your monitor close to you, roughly about a foot away. To train the same principles behind Marteen's mechanics, we can go back to the three core components of his aim style: stable tracking, consistent timing, and perfect flicks. Starting with stability, Marteen's crosshair stays steady when tracing angles or clearing corners. To train this, playing angle track Valorant is a good idea. Focus on staying smooth and locked on the target. There's no need to hold down the fire key. Just keep your crosshair on the target the entire time to maintain consistent mouse pressure, similar to how you would trace angles in-game. Next is timing. Marteen's reaction timing allows him to hit enemies swinging into his holds consistently. To train this, play Headshot Valorant. The targets move in a predictable horizontal path. It's important that you lead your shot and time your flicks, instead of chasing or flicking onto the targets. This helps develop the shot timing you need when enemies swing the angle you're holding. And finally, Marteen's perfect flicks. For situations where the enemy appears outside the crosshair, the first motion needs to land directly on the head. To train this, play IATC WW4TS Pokeball. The wide wall forces larger flick distances, while the small targets demand precise stopping. Focus on driving the flick from the forearm and stopping the crosshair exactly on the target. The targets also have a few HP, forcing you to fully stop your flick on the target before shooting, similar to how you would stop and burst in Valorant. This setup works well for Marteen. It might work for you too, or it might not. Trying different styles is often how players figure out what actually fits their mechanics. If you want to see more aim breakdowns like this, let us know who we should analyze next. And subscribe so you don't miss the next one.